All right, I think we're live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for round 8 out of 18 here for the ISRL Tier 2 Championship. I'm your host and main commentator, Fallen Monkeys, once back again in the commentator's booth, and I'm joined by ISRL Astunik again this week. Astunik, are you here with us? Can you hear me all right?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. It looks like we got things set up just in time now, as we're just kicking off the short qualifying session here. Looks like we've got 15 drivers on the grid, at least for the time being, and I'm noticing some cloud cover here, at least for the start of qualifying. So I'm not too sure if we have any early indicator about possible weather or anything at all. But either way, what do you expect to see so far? Given how the championships performed us oh my goodness, up until now.
Oh, well, we got a couple of factors in this race here that should make for a different outcome. As we got I think we have a couple new drivers. We got a competitive driver in Marshmallow coming up from Tier 3, as every race he's seen him and he absolutely dominated. So moving him up to Tier 2, let's see what he can do against these guys here. And as always, with the storyline every week, Vito and sorry, lost his name. We got Vito and we have Gexy battling closely for the championship. So,
Yeah.
oh, and I'm seeing in the chat right now, we are gonna have a rainy race, folks.
Oh, rainy race. This will make things interesting, and honestly, I think it'll make qualifying that much more important as we're starting to see drivers head out on track now. Especially given if it's going to be raining all race, then you're definitely going to want to take advantage of the dry track in qualifying, because if the higher you can qualify, the better off you are probably going to be come the start of the race, I would say.
Absolutely.
But we'll see. We are talking. Oh, sorry about that. Please go on ahead if you've got something.
Well, you're going to see these times ramp up here because the strategy for the tires is out the window here. If you're expecting rain in the race, then expect everybody to be pushing with all three soft tires that they have for the session, because it's not going to matter what you start on. You're going to start probably on the, I'm not sure if we got rain at the start or if it's rain to come, but either way, if there's rain in the race, you can just go out there and just use those tires to your advantage. So expect everybody to be on softs here.
Oh yeah, definitely you can push the tires to the limit, especially if you don't need them. So as you were saying, we're probably going to see some pretty quick times here, even even for Tier 2's standards, as Gexy is probably going to be the first to set a time as he just crossed the line to start his flying lap, and oh no, invalidates it right through the first turn. So it's a little bit unfortunate for him, but still loads of time now with still 50 minutes to go back around, get another lap in, and probably set another time. Let's actually jump to, well, Vito's actually he invalidated his time as well, so not a good start for the two championship contenders, as they're both invalidating early on. I will say, though, Canada is a relatively tough track to set a clean lap on. It is very easy to get your lap time invalidated, given how strict the stewards are with the corner cutting around this track. So we'll see if that'll have any implications as qualifying starts to dwindle down. But at least for the time being, I'm going to be riding with my Vaco in that Ferrari car as he's coming down the back straight with his DRS open. It's looking like it's going to be a decent time, at least for now. But actually, he's going to jump right into the pits.
He's got end plate damage right there on the right side of his wing. So.
Oh yeah, so probably a good idea to abort the lap after that. No reason to cross the line, especially since you have more than enough time to go around and set another lap time. But here we go, Bumblebee on the medium tires crosses the line and sets a 1:10.4, and Chris crosses the line as well in that McLaren car, setting a 1:10.490. So Bumblebee fastest by about 8 thousandths of a second, I would say, on those medium tires, no less. So Bumblebee showing off some early pace in that Renault car. And that's exciting to see here, at least in the early stages of qualifying.
Second faster than Bumblebee.
Yeah, full second quicker than Bumblebee on those soft tires. So now we're gonna start seeing some of the bigger times start to fall as Synchro goes for a bit of an off-roading line there on his in-lap, rushing to get back to the pits. Now I see Morphus cross the line, setting a 1:11.6. Not the quickest time that we'll see, but you might be just getting a feel of the car on the actual, on the actual race day, race lobby. So probably going to see some quicker times from him as the session goes on. Feral Fury, he's making a case for himself. He crossed the line with a 109.659, good enough for second so far. As we're starting to see the times, oh my goodness, the times start to fall now.
Yep. Just want to point out the new drivers we have this week. I've already mentioned Marshmallow, but I also want to point out, as you said, Morphus. He's a reserve driver, doesn't really have a seat, so looking to make a name for himself. And our Tier 3 championship leader in Mavako, who's in this race driving for Ferrari.
Yeah, so we'll have to tune back to the likes of these new drivers a little bit later on. Oh no, I was about to make a comment about how such a great team play we were seeing on screen by the Haas team, Elbiku and Synchro helping each other out with a bit of DRS, but unfortunately through that last little chicane with the Wall of Champions, Elbiku he did invalidate his time. And it's a double whammy because now this lap is invalidated for him before it even began. So tough break for Elbiku as he's going to have to abort this lap and try again later on in the session. Now,
this track is unforgiving with its track limits. You're going to have to drive a superbly clean race to just not even get 3 seconds. It demands the concentration from the driver more than, I would say, any other track besides Monaco.
Oh yeah, especially with the way the corners are. It's very easy to corner cut, but somebody who did not have any issues with that, it seems, is Mats as he crosses the line, setting a 109.393, which is good enough for this for provisional pole with a little under 11 minutes to go now in qualifying. So pretty solid lap by Mats in that Red Bull car. I don't think we've spoken too much about him so far, as Cruz actually sets a better time in that Mercedes car. And actually, I'm going to jump to Cruz as he's probably looking for a little bit of vengeance and a little bit of redemption after what happened last week in the battle for the lead, and was unfortunately caught up in an incident that hindered his race. And it seems to be a bit of a reoccurring thing for Cruz. Not always his fault, but hopefully things can stay clean around Canada for that 97 car and the wonderful looking new black Mercedes livery. To see maybe a win, maybe a podium, but hopefully just a good showing from him this time around. Take a look. Let's jump quickly to his teammate, actually, Marshmallow. As you were saying, Stunik, he is the championship leader with Tier 3 and has been kind of blowing a lot of the Tier 3 drivers out of the water with his pace. So here he is up into Tier 2, and we'll see what he can do if he can compete, start competing for wins or for podiums right off the bat. Maybe bring in a bit of excitement for this battle for the lead come the backstretch of the championship.
Absolutely, we're just about halfway through the season now, as this is round 8 of 18. Next week at Mexico will be the halfway point, and right now I don't know if he'd have to win outright, because the pace that Gexy and Vito have brought this season is just setting the bar for the rest of these drivers.
Oh yeah, well that's true. He would have a lot of points to make up, but if he can just keep maybe some consistent finishes, he can get a little bit lucky. Oh my goodness, wow. So definitely showing he's got the pace early on. First driver to break into the 108s so far today, as far as I'm aware. So for now, it's looking like a Mercedes 1-2. Hang on, is this the ISRL, or is this, are we watching the actual Grand Prix here?
I guess we'll see. We'll just wait for the racing points to come up next. I mean, there is, and check it out, there's a Red Bull in third. So
yeah, Red Bull in third. So Mercedes, Red Bull so far here in qualifying. Where have we seen that before? But actually, as we're saying that, Gexy crosses the line and starts thinking, hey, what about me, guys? And he sets a 109.2, and that's good enough for provisional third now. So solid time by Gexy, and now that kind of puts a bit of an onus now on Vito as actually, who was that? That's Synchro, having a bit of a spin going out of the second turn, and it looks like he's now getting back on track and continuing on his way. But I was going to say, this is sort of putting a bit of an onus on Vito now that he's going to have to set a decent time because he's watching his championship rival currently in third, and he's, at least for the time being, sitting all the way down in eighth. Now, oh my goodness, look at that. Irish Potato, he sets a 108.4 in that Red Bull car, nearly a 108.5, so he actually blows Marksmello's time right out of the water, just like that. So we're already seeing mid-108s now with still 7 minutes to go. So are we going to see these times picking up as, as qualifying goes on, or do you think this is, we've hit the cap now? Oh, we'll tune back in with Stunek a little bit later, as it looks like there was a Renault that had a bit of trouble in the background down the start-finish straight, struggling with the wall of champions. But here we go. We're with Vito as he's starting his flying lap at the moment. He's got to beat a 109.6, which, given what we've seen, definitely possible. As Synchro, he actually took a 5-place grid penalty for a collision somewhere on the track. Unfortunately, I didn't see it, and oh no, as I tune back to Vito, his time does unfortunately get invalidated once again. So it's another lap for naught for Vito, as he's gonna have to maybe get a bit of a rush to get around the circuit. Canada, not necessarily the longest track in the world, as we can see with the timing sheets here. But still, he's now coming down to the wire if he wants to set a better time than what he has now. But let's take a quick peek at who else is on a flying lap. We can tune in with Bumblebee. He was one of the first time setters.
My bad.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So I was just saying that Irish Potato, he set a 108.492, and that's a extremely quick time. Now, do you think we're going to be seeing anything quicker than that? Maybe something into the 107s before the end of qualifying, or do you think we've hit max speed capacity here with the timing?
I want to say we've hit max time, but I also want to see a 107. I want to see anything that these guys can give us. Marksmello's on an outlap right now, and he's actually starting his flying lap now to try and match Irish New Potato.
Alrighty, so we'll tune into him in just a moment, just to as we can see what the new driver can do on a 1-lap pace. But I'm just keeping an eye quickly on Chris at the moment in that oh my goodness, in that McLaren car. It's looking he's got to beat a 110.2, so definitely a beatable time by all means. But we'll see if he can get it done. I just want to take a peek at his sector time, as he's just about to finish sector 2. And he's actually 0.3 up on his time, so it's looking like a decent time. Maybe going to break into the 109s, which could make it good enough for 10th, at least for the time being. So we'll keep an eye on him. But I'm going to quickly jump now to Marksmello, as oh no, actually he invalidated his time, so not going to be beating the time he set this time around, but he can go into the pits, get a new set of tires on, and probably get one more lap in, I would think. And there we go. Chris, that's a 109.6, and that actually puts him up into a provisional 9th place to start the grid. So not a bad time for him here with as we're starting to come down to the end stages of qualifying.
You also got to remember here that the weather's going to play a huge part in this race. So somebody who's planning for this, maybe Marksmello's not setting the leaderboards on fire because he knows there's going to be rain. A lot of these guys might just be sacrificing their qualifying time just so they can have a wet setup going into the race.
Yeah, and I was actually just thinking that too as you were mentioning it. It's not really something we've seen too often now, given most of the races have been dry. But yeah, some of the drivers might actually be wearing that using that wet setup in preparation for the race, as you mentioned, which might actually take some times out of qualifying. Now, of course, as Elbiku crosses the line and sets a 109.8. Now, of course, we didn't see any in the Tier 3 race, but of course, when it comes to wet race, something that goes hand in hand with wet races is safety car starts, and I guess more specifically, safety car restarts. So if you can manage to keep it clean in the wet weather, you might just be in for a good finish. Just you know, just compared to everybody else, maybe more likely to spin, more likely to have an incident, more likely to be spending, you know, 8 seconds in the pit box instead of the standard 2 seconds in the pit box. And that could be a huge advantage for anybody who can just, you know, keep it clean through the race.
Absolutely. If you take wing damage coming out and you make slight contact with the wall of champions and you get guys behind you, you're going to have to go a whole lap with wing damage, the time in the pits. And a lot of these rain races, you can either not stop at all or you can just one stop, just go inter to inter. But it just depends on the variable conditions. But you can see the fact that somebody may be in the back just keeps it cleaner longer than the drivers in the front. And that's just going to promote him up forward towards the front of the field.
Yeah, it's all you need, but that is, of course, easier said than done. Wall of Champions, even in the dries, it's hard enough to not clip the wall. So in the wets, even more so, as we're starting to see some retirements now, as I guess drivers are starting to get comfortable with their times here. As we're coming down to less than 2 minutes to go in qualifying. I was riding with Feral Fury. He unfortunately did not better his time, so he's still going to be in a 5th spot. And now we're starting to see some of these big guns setting some times. Now I just jumped to Gex, and he took a bit of an interesting line to go through the last chicane. But it worked out for him as he passes Cruz in the dying minutes now, and sets nearly a 109 flat, which is good enough for 3rd. But actually, I think that was Synchro, who he just crossed the line, sets a 108.7, so that bumps him up into 2nd now.
A lot of these guys out there trying to get one last run in. Albico seems satisfied with what he's put on the board.
Yep, he's satisfied, so he's gonna be happy with his 109.5. Now I'm looking to find drivers who are currently on some laps. I think this is Jordan who's going to cross the line to set another time. What's it going to be? Unfortunately, 3 seconds slower than what his best time is, so maybe that wasn't a time for him, as his laps are now already 2 laps old, so maybe he's just getting a few more laps, feeling the setup, feeling maybe a little bit of the race pace in case it does go dry. Vito, he's going into the pits now, so that's his qualifying over. So a bit of a not a great qualifying for Vito, as of right now he is in 10th. So normally we'll expect to see him a little bit higher, especially given his
bit on his time right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's actually jump to Marks Mello and watch his onboard. And once he finishes the lap, we can quickly jump to Irish Potato, who also looks like he's just starting a lap himself. But Marks Mello, he's up a 10th, nearly 2/10 on his time. So it's looking like a good lap so far, but this last sector can actually make or break the lap a lot more than you might think. Because if you get a good line or a bad line through the last chicane, through the with the Wall of Champions, that could save or get rid of so much time. And he actually hits the wall, and that is a prime example right there. But he actually still sets a quicker time, a 108.568. So not as fast as.
You just wonder what could have been with that.
Yeah, just gotta wonder what could have been, especially with the contact. But I jumped to Irish Potatoes. It looked like there was a Ferrari having a bit of trouble in the background there. But yeah, Irish Potato was actually going quicker. So let's take a look. A bit of a much better line through the Wall of Champions final chicane. What's it gonna be? And he improves on his time nearly a 107. It's actually a 108.122. So now he's actually 4/10 faster than second place in Marks Mello, who he also equally set a very fast time, but probably could have been faster if it wasn't for that mistake around the Wall of Champions there. Now I think Morphus. Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's the last driver to come in. He's gonna opt to go into the pits, abort his time. So I think that'll just about do it now for qualifying, as everybody is either in the pits or seen the checkered flag. So there we have it. Irish Potato crossing the line. He is going to be starting on pole position. with that very quick 108.122. Marksmello, the newcomer here in Tier 2, showing that he's got the pace to compete right from the get-go with a 108.568. Good enough for a front line, start on the front line of the grid. Going to be starting in second. Synchro showing he belongs there as well. Going to be starting in third, and Nathan JB going to be starting in fourth. Then after that, we
wonder where the times drop off. Oh, sorry, keep going. I apologize.
Oh no, please go on ahead. I was just quickly taking the time to take us through the order a little bit, because after fourth, now we're finally going to be starting to see a bit of a familiar faces with the likes of Gexy and Cruz starting in fifth and sixth. So they're probably going to be hoping for a good start, or I guess a poor start from those starting ahead of them, and behind them, Feral Fury and Mats. But now one of the drivers that I'm seeing all the way down there is Vito. And not really what we're used to seeing, but of course we've seen Vito get some very, very good starts in the past. So maybe we'll see another crazy Vito start of the race here in Canada once again.
Just trying to. I mean, Vito. Like I was thinking out loud earlier when you were going down the order. I was just thinking, like, with Vito, we see all these guys that are usually at the front towards the back right now. You got to wonder if they were this ones, because these times here, I don't think these are wet setups over here in the top four. They could have the wet setups down the order, and they could pay dividends during a race.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Maybe that maybe Vito had thought ahead. Maybe he's got the wet setup on, and that's just what we're seeing. The difference between the wet setup and the dry setup. I know some drivers they don't really have a wet setup and a dry setup. It's just the track setup is sort of a bit of an all-purpose, so this will bring it'll make things interesting.
When 5-place grid penalty?
Oh yes, I did see that earlier pop up. Let's actually peek at the race director and see what happened here. It looked like it was a collision with Feral Fury.
Wonder when that's happened.
Yep, I saw the little pop-up. I didn't quite get to see it on track. I think it was when you had to quickly step away there. Yeah, so unfortunately for Synchro, after setting that very nice qualifying time, he's going to be dropping 5 places, so that might bring him down to about 8th, I believe, to start the race. So a bit of a recovery drive for him now with that grid place penalty, but that's quite all right. I'm sure he'll be able to get it done. He's just got to keep his head down and power through. And here we go, and yep, there we have it. We're seeing the rain here on track. Looks like it's going to be an intermediate tire start of the race. Now the big question is, as Morphus actually readies up, so hopefully Tier 2 drivers who have the stream open, make sure to get your setups in, get your strategies set up and everything ready to go, because we're going to be starting in about 15 seconds now. Oh, I didn't know if you were saying something or not, but now with 5 seconds.
No, I was just trying to think of what everybody's going to do here. This is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, the big wild card is what's going to happen with the rain. Is the rain going to be sticking around for the entire race, or are we going to see maybe a rainy start go into dry? And there's a lot of variables here, so I'm just going to have to potentially, we're just going to have to sit back and watch it play out as it happens. But I'm excited. But I'll take us down the official order of the grid as we're going through the formation lap. We've got Irish Potato starting on pole, with Marksmello going to be starting right beside him, looking to make an impact early. And that's Nathan JB being promoted up to third now, and we're going to see Gexy starting from the second row there. So not a bad starting spot for Gexy, I have to say. And Cruz is going to be behind him with Feral Fury beside. Then we'll see the likes of Mats and Synchro in 7th and 8th. Elbiku and Jordan actually round out the top 10. And Synchro, of course, starting in 8th after that 5-place grid penalty for the collision in qualifying. But Elbiku and Jordan 9th and 10th, and we are going to have Vito behind in 11th. Starting alongside Chris, who's in 12th, and then it's Mivako down in 13th, with the two Renaults of Bumblebee and Xmorphous starting from the back in 14th and 15th.
Yeah, I want to run you through the order of the standings before we get started. Vito
Yeah,
made a
please.
huge leap ahead of Gexy from last week. As we all know, Gexy didn't finish the race at Silverstone. And now it was a 9 point gap before that race, and now it's 211 for Vito and 173 for Gexy. So he's got a lot of ground to make up. We also have really close battles with Chris and Cruz separated by only 6 points, and AJ Wuhan and Synchro are tied with 76. And as we see, AJ Wuhan didn't make it today, so that's going to be huge for Cruz if he just, Synchro if he
Yeah,
just gets
Synchro just needs
even a point.
a decent finish, and that way that'll definitely help in his championship battle. With as you said, AJ Wuhan being unable to make to make the race today.
Also, Jordan's right behind them by 1 point with 75, so a lot of ground to make up for these guys here, especially as we see variable conditions.
Oh yeah, lots of ground to make up, but you know, we've got 35 laps to go before we can truly see what's going to happen there, as we're waiting for the lights. Looks like we have the 5 red lights. They're off. We're not going just yet, so we're still waiting for the actual true 5 red lights now. And here we go. Now we're off, finally, as looks like bit of a timid start for a lot of the drivers. But who is that? Looks like that's Marksmell getting a decent start. Oh, bit of contact, as looks like there was a Haas car of El Biku, I think, that got a little bit squeezed on the inside, but here we go. We're seeing, oh my goodness, the Mercedes going side by side into this next section. Don't want to see an incident too early on amongst teammates, as it looks like Marksmell is able to get the better of Cruz for the time being, but it looks like Nathan JB starting from third up into first. I didn't even see when that move happened, but we have Nathan JB leading the race from Irish Potato, who falls down to second now. And what's going on here? Mivako all the way down in last, as he, I think there might have been a bit of an incident.
Wing damage to the right.
Oh no! So that's a tough start for Mivako, as he's probably gonna have to pit and change the wing. But here we go. Marksmell up into third, behind Nathan and Irish Potato, and Cruz in fourth. So a solid start early on for the Mercedes car. And Gexy, he loses a spot down into fifth. El Bico had a nice start going up into sixth, and Vito, he's already starting to get a bit of a move on up into eighth, and has already made three spots. Now, somebody who I do want to quickly make mention of, a bit of since he is a new driver here, is actually Xmorphous, who's all the way up into 11th, so he's already made 4 spots right from the get-go early on in this race. So not a bad start from Xmorphous, and hopefully he can keep that momentum for the rest of the race.
Absolutely.
As let's see, Feral Fury and El Biku going side by side. It looks like Feral Fury was able to get the better of El Biku for the time being, but El Biku not giving it up without a bit of a battle. But I think he is going to have to opt out for now. Play things a little bit safer, especially with what's going on with the rain. But actually, El Biku, he's going to try down the inside. Feral Fury going for a bit of a switchback move. It looks like that is able to work for him. And actually, in that time being, El Biku got a little bit too aggressive, and he's losing out on 2 extra spots, with the likes of Vito and Mats catching him napping, and that's El Biku falling back down to 9th, as now he's going to have to watch out for Jordan, who's looking to work his way back up the grid as well now. Let's see, nice little close battle here for the likes of Vito, Mats, and El Biku now keeping up. I think that was Chris trying something around the outside, but wasn't going to work out too well for him, at least for the time being. But looks like everybody got out, for the most part, relatively clean through these first 2 laps, other than Mivako, who's going to have a bit of a recovery drive to do now. But he's going to have the clean air to do it, as Irish Potato, he sets the purple lap for the time being, fastest lap of the race, as he's still trying to keep up and pass Nathan JB to get the lead back. Has a bit of a tank slapper there coming out of turn 2, so that's not going to help him too much, but he's still keeping to under a second. Now, unfortunately, as Mass takes a time second penalty there, but unfortunately, given the oh my goodness, the wet weather conditions, we're not going to be seeing DRS active. So we're not going to have the help of being able to open that flap on the rear wing and gain a little bit of extra speed down these straights in those DRS sections. But we'll see if the drivers are able to adapt to that, as we're seeing now more and more time penalties starting to fall already early on in the race.
Yeah, as you see in predictive pit strategy, it's Imperium's going to be running the entire race due to the fact that saying one stop from inter to inter, or two stop from inter.
Okay, so it seems like it is going to be a full inter race, as we just saw Synchro make a nice move around the hairpin to pass Chris off, to get up into 12th. So that was a nice little move, but Chris has actually thought about making something down the inside, but thinks a little bit better of it, as El Biku, he's going into the pits a little bit early, so must have taken a little bit of wing damage during those battles. So not the start he was hoping to see, but like I said, there's still lots of race to go, so loads of time to have a little bit of a recovery drive. If you're the likes of El Biku and still even Mivako there, as I'm still keeping an eye on this battle between Synchro and Morphus now, as Synchro's getting very close. Yeah, thinks about going down the inside for a little second there, but thought a little bit better of it. It seems like as if this might be one of the closest battles on track for this 10th spot. Look at that! Oh my, Synchro practically pushing X-Morphus around the turn. But just unable to get the move stick. But maybe he'll have a little bit of luck using some ERS down the back straight. So let's jump to the onboard, since that quite wasn't a great view of the tire, if I'm being completely honest. Looks like he does get a little bit of a better traction, does Synchro, but actually Morphus doing a good job of keeping pace. Doing a decent job of defending, and once again Synchro is going to be stuck behind that Renault car for at least the next straightaway here. But I want to quickly jump to the likes of Fatal Fury and Gexy, because they're getting very close to one another in this battle for 5th, and I think it's very important for Gexy to keep this position, because if he gets passed by Fatal Fury, then right behind him is his championship rival in Vito, as Mivako actually takes another 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So unfortunately for Mivako, he's going to have to go into the pits once again, and nope, they're opting to retire the car. So that's Mivako out of the session here on lap 5, as he's not quite having the race he was hoping he was going to have here for Tier 2.
Nope, understandable frustrations. Huge lockup from Fatal Fury.
Yeah, I was going to say, big lockup. Thankfully, that didn't affect him too much, other than maybe a flat spot. But that actually maybe allows Gexy to live another day in that fifth spot, as I think Fatal Fury might have lost a little bit of time. But yeah, can't make the move down this back straight, maybe down the start finish. But it looks like Gexy just has a little bit of a better traction on the exit, so he is able to keep that spot. Now let's actually take a look at Chris and Synchro, as it looks like Chris is finally able to get them make the move done, but Synchro isn't going to battle too hard, as he's going to opt to go into the pits and make a pit stop, change the tires, maybe change the wing. I'm not too sure if he took any wing damage or not, but we'll have to keep an eye on that.
They're changing it right now.
They're changing it right now. Okay, so yeah, it looks like there was a bit of wing damage. As we're jumping back to the Feral Fury and Gexy, still battling it out for that 5th spot. And all in all, through this battle in the background, I'm watching Vito. He is closing the gap ever so slightly every lap. But Vito does have the Red Bull of Max behind him, who is also looking to make a few positions here in the race. So Vito can't be napping too hard this time around. But there we go, Feral Fury. He thought about making a move around the hairpin, but wasn't able to make it stick, as he's going to try once again down this back straight. Gexy doing a good job of defending. Feral Fury thought about throwing it even more down the inside of what Gexy was, but thought better of it. He's going to try to get a little bit of the better exit. Actually, let's quickly jump here because it looks like finally we're seeing the top 4 close up once again. So we might see some battle for the potentially for the lead of the race, or actually at least for second, as Mark Mello is starting to get a bit more of a feel of the car and is starting to be able to maybe make a push on Irish Potato. As Fail Fear, he actually takes a penalty in his battle with Gexy. So not what he was hoping to see, but sometimes when you push a little bit too hard, mistakes like that are going to happen. So we'll see how that affects the end of the race for him.
You see these guys just wanting to push, but they just have to. They're tiptoeing around all these corners, especially these chicanes, low-speed corners, trying to find traction on corner exit. We've seen Nude Potatoes, that's a purple sector too, so into the back of Nathan, almost.
Yeah, so just as I was saying, Nathan was starting to create a gap. It looks like Irish Potato is working to close that gap right away, and in doing so is actually able to make a little bit of a gap to Mark's Mello, and stay a little bit more confident in that second spot. But it is true what you're saying, that all the drivers, they're having to tiptoe around, mostly just due to the track being as wet as it is. As wow, a 121.2 is the fastest lap of the race so far. But yeah, with the wet race, you are kind of forced to tiptoe around, because if you put a little bit too much, if you push a little bit too hard, you're gonna spin the car, and you're gonna end up probably falling all the way down the order to probably the bottom of the grid, and that's even without that inevitable pit stop to probably have to change your wing.
Chris has just gotten into the side of Morphus and spun him around into
turn
2.
Oh no, that's I didn't quite get to catch that on stream, but we're seeing Morphus down in 11th now, and he actually got passed by his teammate as well due to the incident. But Chris for now is up until 9th, but depending on the severity of the incident, it might just be reviewed after the race by the stewards if it does get sent to the report. If I'm going to jump back now, let's tune back to this battle between Gexy and Feral Fury. It feels like they've been going at it for the last few laps now, but still, here we are, Gexy in 5th, Feral Fury in 6th, and it looks like that's the way it's going to stay probably for at least another lap. Oh, well, actually, Gexy gets a bit of a tank slapper, so Feral Fury gets a nice exit. Now we're going to see them going side by side, and Feral Fury just with the traction. But actually, no, they're still side by side. Gexy's still keeping a tire in that first turn, but Feral Fury just a little bit better around that corner section, is finally able to pass Gexy for 5th. But now we'll see how long he can hold it, and if Gexy is going to want to fight for this spot, because you know, he's going to have to also equally watch out for the likes of Vito, who's now right behind him. And it brought the gap down to 2.5 seconds now compared to 3 seconds where it was beforehand. Now, see, the pit strategies are a little bit all out of, you know, they're kind of everywhere, but we're seeing Elbico and Morphus having to go into the pits, potentially get a little bit of a wing change after the incident.
Am I seeing that? Yes, Matt's on the hards, and understandably so, is into the wall. In sector 1.
Oh yeah, and actually that's Elbico and Morphus also on the medium tires, from what I can see with the tire detail, and that's Matt's. He's actually DNF from the race, I guess. Or did he?
He's just retired.
Well, he just retired on track.
I don't know why, but he's on the hard compound tire.
Yeah, he's on the hard compound tire, but it looks like he actually retired on track. So thankfully, for the drivers that are actually racing, they're hopefully not going to be. He's hopefully not going to be in the way, as it actually looked like he was parked on the right on the apex of the chicane that our leaders are coming up to right now. So let's see. Okay, thankfully the car is gone, so no incidents to have with the likes of Mass retiring on track, but that could have been much more dangerous than what it was. But yeah,
thinking that a safety car might possibly come out and hit it. So that battle with Gexy was all for naught, as he's now behind him and Vito.
Oh yeah, so that's Yeah, so I guess he lost a lot of time though with the battle, but if he just opted into the pits, he might have a bit of an advantage now because he's gonna have a little bit of clean air to work with, um, rather than being stuck behind Gexy for so many laps like he was in the previous stint. Now we might actually see some moves for the lead as Irish Potato's starting to make a push as the gap is now down to right around 3/10 now, and they're seeing both these drivers very close to one another. So far though, it's still Nathan JB in the lead with Irish Potato in second, and the two Mercedes cars in third and fourth, doing a good team drive as I guess I could say looking to get some strong finish for the team. Let's see, Synchro and Jordan battling it out. It looks like Synchro made a nice move on the hairpin as now he's growing the gap very quickly. I'm not too sure if Jordan has some wing damage or not, or what's going on with him as definitely... Oh, he's on the medium tires.
No.
So
is on the mediums and Morpheus is it not raining?
Yeah, it looks like the rain might have stopped. If I'm looking at the onboard, I'm not seeing any of the drizzle of the rain. So maybe we're gonna be seeing.
Jumped early.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Normally, when the DRS does get active, that's normally the best time to do it. As Irish Potato thought about making a move around the hairpin on the outside, but wisely thought better of it. Since already, even just by thinking about it, he lost out on a few tenths of a second. But no, like I think it's a little bit too early, and as we're seeing it now, that's another one bites the dust, I guess, as Morphus retires in the pits after he had such a good start, but seemed like wasn't able to keep that momentum. Oh, that's Elbiku in the wall?
These medium tires are just not working, and who's that around? That's Chris in the hairpin.
Yeah, it looks like that was Chris and Bumblebee. It looked like they got very close to one another as Bumblebee's going very slowly down this back straight. So I think there might have been an incident there. Bumblebee just trying to let Chris go by. And yeah, it seems like that was happened. So I guess Bumblebee definitely, probably, I'm gonna say was at fault for that one, and respectively letting the position back to Chris there. But either way, due to that is going to hinder the race at least a little bit. But now we're seeing Synchro passing Bumblebee as well on track. Here, let's take a look. Lots of drivers having already made one or more stops as Elbiku is actually going into the pits once again. So I think that might be stop number 3 for him, as, yeah, oh my goodness, Jordan and Elbiku on the medium tires, definitely not working out for him, I don't think, as, there we go, Elbiku is actually opting to go back on the intermediates. So it definitely didn't work out for him, those dry tires, and we'll see how long Jordan decides he wants to stay on those dry tires as well, because I really don't think that's the optimal strategy, at least for the time being.
Top 3, no one's really gaining on each other. New Potato seems to close the gap to Nathan, and then he just falls back. And the same with Marksmello. He gets the gap down to about half a second, then it goes back to like a full second. But
yeah, well, that's the thing. It all seems to be gap management, at least for the lead. Now, something I actually didn't even notice was Vito is actually ahead of Gexy now on track. So I didn't quite get to see when the move actually happened, but you know, somehow, some way, Vito was able to pass Gexy, and now that's Vito up into 5th after having started all the way down in 11th. So once again, a very good, very solid drive from Vito so far, and now we'll see if he can close this 7-second gap to catch up and maybe put some pressure on the likes of Cruz and Marksmello.
Bumblebee's pit for the softs.
Yeah, Bumblebee's pitting for the softs, and now we're starting to see, we're seeing, actually, oh my goodness, there's going to be a double stack in the Mercedes pit box. Who was that? That's actually Marksmello going on the mediums, and that's Cruz also going on the mediums. So is it time for dry tires? As more, you have Vito going on the softs, so it looks like it is time for dry tires, as now we're starting to see the some of the leaders now opting to put on these either the mediums or the softs. So this might actually turn the race on its head here on lap 14.
Deep into turn 2 on those mediums, they're cold.
Yeah, so it might take a few laps for them to heat up. But now, surprisingly enough, or maybe unsurprisingly enough, we have Nathan and Irish Potato. They opted to stay out for at least another lap. So they are going to continue on those intermediate tires. And even Feral Fury, who had pit a mere 4 laps ago, he's staying out on the intermediate tires as well. So I feel they're probably waiting for the DRS to be active, if it's not already, before going into the pits and putting on the the dry tires, as it seemingly appears as though that is now the strategy.
Change the lead.
Oh yeah, Irish Potato finally makes the move down. Yeah, it was down that back straight, and they will actually be continuing on for another lap on those intermediate tires. Now, it looks like they're actually going to be. Yeah, they're running into a little bit of traffic now in the likes of Jordan, but they were able to take care of that easy enough. And Marksmello actually passed it. Oh well, Feral Fury, he's opting into the pits this lap. He's putting the soft tires on, so he will be falling down the order now, and that actually brings Marksmello back up into third and Cruz in fourth, with Vito now only 1 second behind Cruz, as Cruz lost a lot of time being double stacked with his teammates during that pit window there. And there we go, the DRS is finally enabled, so we're going to be seeing a little bit of DRS overtakes now as the laps go on. And now if you're Nathan and Irish Potato, is this now finally when you decide to go into the pits? I think so. Yeah, if you're going to have to now, because it does seem like as if it's definitely time for dry tires. And I'm just looking at the gap now that in about half a lap, it looks like Marksmello's closed at least a half a second, if not more. And there we go. We're seeing the top two finally going into the pits, taking those intermediate tires, those wet tires off.
The early pit stop from Marksmello pay off here.
Yeah, so Irish Potato opting to put on the mediums. And oh, was that Nathan? He had to get his wing changed. Oh no. So he's going to lose a lot of time in that battle for the lead, as now he's 6 seconds behind Irish Potato, and Marksmello has actually passed him on track. So not the pit stop Nathan was hoping for, as, oh my goodness, Marksmello might actually pass Irish Potato for the lead of the race. It's only less than a second behind him, and Marksmello does have probably the warmer tires, as Irish Potato is going to have to take a lap or two to heat them up, given the conditions. So we'll see what's going to happen now in this new battle for the lead, as I'm actually riding on board Marksmello now, just so we can actually catch the move in action when it does happen. But it looks like, at least for now, Irish Potato is holding off just enough to keep that lead. As the Synchro,
on the back straight.
Yeah, and I know Synchro showing some pace, as he actually set a fastest lap now.
Potato has it stuck in overtake mode. He knows it's coming.
Yeah, so he's probably putting everything he can in the car just to try to keep that spot and potentially even heat up the tires as quick as possible, so that he doesn't lose out on Marksmello here. And it looks like he does a good job, at least for now. But the big question is going to be what's going to happen once he runs out of that, once he runs out of DRS, and once he runs out of all of that, the tools they can use. As Marksmello, he actually sets a fastest lap now, so he's flying around the circuit, definitely showing he's got the pace to compete with the big boys at Tier 2. As actually his teammate now sets a 1:18.6, so he's starting to close the gap on Nathan now. So we might see some nice battles as this race progresses into the latter stages. Oh no, are you seeing something?
Vito received a time penalty, but I also saw Gexy a lap earlier get one, so kind of evens out for them. And Gexy's actually closing back on Vito. Here we go.
Yep, and I'll just quickly jump to Bumblebee, who makes a nice little move down the inside of Chris. Of course, Bumblebee is on the soft tires. Chris opting to choose the hard tires, so there's a tire advantage. But actually, look at this. Chris is battling right back thought about making a move but wasn't able to make it stick. So it will be Bumblebee with the better tire, with the better traction, coming out ahead for now, but Chris is doing a good job keeping pace and might be able to take that position back a little bit later on. Sorry about that, just had to take a quick sip of water as Nathan JB sets a 116.6, so he's flying around the circuit now. Still in third, but very quickly closing the gap.
Gexy all the while on the back of Vito here.
Yeah, let's actually jump to this battle because they're right up close to one another, and this is a bit of a championship battle here. It looked like Gexy had a bit of a tank slapper coming out of that coming out of the exit there. Thankfully, it hasn't hindered them too much as they're still very close to one another. And if we jump to the onboard,
Vito's tires have to be falling off.
Yeah, but Vito, he is on these softs, and they're not going to last too long. And there we go. We actually see Gexy go down the inside there. He does take a time penalty for his troubles, but he is able to actually make the move on Vito. But look at these two battling it out, not willing to give either one of them any space to do anything. Some nice hard elbows out racing, but nothing too crazy, at least for the time being. But now here we go. Is Vito, yes, he is going to have DRS as they're coming down the back straight. Will he try to make a move down the outside? Yes, he is. Tough spot to make a move. Turns into the inside. There's a little bit of contact. A tank slapper there, but it looks like everybody got out clean. But Vito is able to take that spot right back and use a little bit of the DRS to try to create a bit of a gap. But it's not much of anything at all as Gexy is still right behind him. And hopefully we can see more of this for the rest of the race, because I love seeing these two drivers battling it out on track.
We all know what's at stake for these two guys right here.
Oh yeah, definitely lots at stake with the I wouldn't say the lead of the championship, but they are number 1 and number 2 in the Drivers' Championship so far. So neither one of them wants to see the other ahead of them. You know, any race generally, but especially specifically this one here, especially when you're right up close to them. As we have a nice little chase camera here, as you're riding on the back of Vito, seeing how close Gexy got there. Now, are we going to see another move this time by Gexy as they're very close to one another? Let's see what the exit's going to be like, as looks like... Oh, okay, so Vito might actually use some of that overtake, but Gexy actually has the DRS, and look at that. He is able to make it easy enough long before they get to the chicane, and now it's Gexy's turn to try to create a gap on Vito, to try to grow that gap to more than a second so he doesn't have to worry about Vito getting any DRS here on the next lap. Looks like he is able to do that, at least for the time being, but we'll see what Vito can do. Looks like the gap is staying right around a second, so maybe Vito doing a little bit of tire conservation. Maybe he's feeling the wear finally on those soft tires. As we have a yellow flag here, as we're coming up to it.
Leaders go by.
Oh, okay. Now it's
getting up to the back of Marksmello here.
Yeah, I got
DRS down the back straight.
Yeah, I just got a little bit worried of an incident, as actually Nathan says a purple second sector, so he's going very fast now as he's trying to close the gap to Marksmello. He's going to have DRS finally down this back straight. Let's see what he can do, as looks like it's still an 8/10 gap, 9/10, so Marksmello doing a good job of holding off Nathan for now. But we'll see how long that can last, as we're now starting lap 21 out of 35. So long past the halfway point of the race now, and we've only got about 14 laps to go in this Canadian Grand Prix. Irish Potato in that Red Bull car still in the lead. Marksmello in second, and Nathan JB down in third. Now here we're gonna see can Nathan make the move, or at least close the gap down this DRS straight here, the first of three DRS sections, I should say, or I like to count the first one through the lap. He closes the gap a little bit, but nothing. Yeah, took a time penalty for his troubles as well. Canada being as unforgiving as it ever is. with the time penalties, and today is no exception. But here we go down this back straight. I think Marksmello has a bit too much of a gap for Nathan to be able to make the move, and yeah, looks like he's at least for now just holding course. As Irish Potato, he's just pushing now, definitely feeling those dry tires on that setup, and he's actually opened the gap to now 4 seconds. So I think it's safe to assume that Irish Potato has a dry setup on, and now that the track is dry, he is now going to start to really build a gap. Vito, he actually had to go into the pits. He's getting off the soft tires, and now he's probably going to go to the medium tires till the end of the race, I would think. As I don't think he's going to have to pit anymore, as Feral Fury takes a time penalty, and he's probably going to have to pit soon too, given his soft tires are now 7 laps old.
Synchro goes fastest.
Yeah, Synchro goes fastest. He's been flying on those medium tires, it seems. Definitely has the pace, although he is down in 8th. But is starting now to close up the gap at least a little bit to Vito in 7th. But after that, it's a little bit of a no man's land to try to catch up to the top 6. But now the big question is, will the top 5 at least, do you think they're going to have to pit now one last time before the end of the race? Or do you think they can take those medium tires all the way to the end?
Well, they're certainly pushing as we see these times ramp up. I'm not sure. They could possibly, I'm not remembering when they put these on, but as we see New Potato and Nathan just setting purple sectors, do they think they can take it to the end? I don't know. Maybe some guy drives, they're just throwing caution to the wind and just pushing now and seeing what happens later, but hard to tell.
Well, if I'm gonna be, and I'm gonna throw in my own little thought on this too. I do think Irish Potato maybe could go to the end, just because now he's done a lot of the pushing. He's got a 5-second gap, or 4.5-second gap now, so he can afford to coast a little bit. Maybe let off a little bit and actually do a little bit of tire saving. Because I'm sure he knows that Marksmello, Nathan, JB, they're going to be battling each other. And this is where things get a little bit interesting, where if you're Marksmello, if you're Nathan, and even Cruz up to a point, they might have to pit. And I'm just thinking that, Nathan is probably going to pit if Marksmello pits. Marksmello is on, his tires are 2 laps older than Nathan and Irish Potato. And to be completely honest, if he's going to be pressured the way he is, Marksmello might be using up a little bit too much tire wear just in trying to defend that second place.
I think Nathan might be too, just sitting in his dirty air. I mean, he just
that's the thing, right? I'm thinking Marksmello and Nathan might just need to pit just because they're spending so much time battling each other.
Yeah.
And that might hinder the tire wear, and that's actually playing right into the hands of Irish Potato. And even Vito, who's now starting to chip away at that gap and sets a purple lap time for the fastest lap of the race for his troubles. And now I'm seeing that gap to 6 down to 12 seconds now from the 15 it was about maybe a lap or 2 ago.
Look, the tire. Yeah, Marksmello's had his tires on for 10 laps. He's got another 10 to go, so...
Yeah, another 10, 11. So that'll bring it up to 21 laps. And already, that's even if you're not battling, not pushing, that's no easy feat to do. But we'll see. I'm sure they can do it if they really put their mind to it. I just feel that Marksmello is probably going to see a bit of a drop off long before then, and it might be beneficial for him to maybe put on the softs and try to push with the softs for the end of the race. Maybe try to go for a fastest lap as well to salvage that point.
Could just be wasting up Nathan's tires too, and he can drop back. I think if he can just take it easy on the tires, if he gets passed by Nathan, he can just coast to a podium.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And so as long as Cruz doesn't close the gap and watch that podium as a bit of sort of a self pat type thing.
Absolutely.
But we'll see what happens in these last 10 laps, as at least for now, Nathan JB still keeping the gap to about half a second to Marksmello, as we've seen for a better part of the race. We'll see, is this the lap we're going to see a move happen? Doesn't look like it. No. So once again, we'll be waiting for at least one more lap before we can actually see a move, some battling between these two drivers. I think they're both just trying to play a little bit of the strategy game against one another. Just waiting for the other to make a mistake to capitalize on it. But I think they're actually going to be coming up to a little bit of a back marker soon enough in the likes of Nathan, JB's teammate, and Chris. So we'll see if that'll actually have any implications. As much as the back markers do ghost, if you can help your teammates in the process without truly creating an incident on track, would you want to take that opportunity? Maybe to work the team game instead of the individual game.
And you gotta think too whether or not, like from Chris' point of view, do you want to give him the DRS, or do you want to just get out of the way so Marksmell doesn't get his slipstream? But he's close now than he's been before, so. Yeah,
that's the thing. Down to less than 3/10. So he's got the overtake done. I think this might be the lap. The move is finally done, and here we go. Goes down the inside. He is able to make it stick, and he's going to have the second bite of DRS for his troubles to make to open the gap. So there we go. Nathan JB up into second now, back into second, and Marksmell down to third. As there we go. Gets the move done. Takes the time second penalty for his troubles. Maybe asserting a little bit of dominance there. I don't know. But either way, we have Marksmell back into third. And at least for Marksmell, he's got a bit of he can breathe a little bit because he knows his teammate is behind him with a nice 7-second lead to his teammate, no less. But now the question is Marksmell truly going to try to push Nathan now, or is he just going to coast till the end now and be happy with that podium? I guess that's the big question that we're going to be asking. We're going to have to ask Marksmell. Or let it play out as the race goes by. Now as we're down to 8 laps to go, so right near the end. And let's actually quickly jump to now Synchro, as he's right up behind Feral Fury, maybe looking to make pass him for that 7th spot. But Feral Fury does have the soft tires on. I think he just recently put them on himself, so he is at a tire advantage compared to Synchro. But, yeah, and we're seeing that there as the gap is starting to grow a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm just looking down the penalties to see what our leaders have. I see Irish New Potato has 3 seconds. I just want to see where Nathan stands.
Let me know where they stand in terms of the penalties, because that might have a little bit of implications. Because now the gap is right around 5 seconds between Irish Potato and Nathan, and the gap between Nathan and Marksmell is still down to under a second. So it's still anybody's race now, as we're coming down to the last 7 laps.
Nathan has 6 seconds of penalties, and Irish New Potato has 9.
Oh, so for the time being, Irish Potato, he is still in the lead, but if Nathan JB is able to close that gap, as it seems like he has been doing ever so slightly now over the last few laps, now that he's had some clean air, this could actually have implications if they have 3-second difference here. But even then, what about Marksmell? Does Marksmell have too many penalties himself?
9 seconds worth of penalties as well.
Oh, he's got 9 as well.
So technically right now, Nathan would be cleared by Marksmell in 3 seconds, just 1.8 behind our race leader.
Yeah, so that could so it seems like as of right now, the on track positions are what they're battling for. But with 6 laps to go, and I am seeing that gap to first closing ever so slightly, as I mentioned. So this could have potential implications if he's able to bring it to under 3 seconds now, as Vito takes a time penalty, a little bit lower down the track, because he's trying to close his gap. He's brought it down to little over 9.5 seconds now to Gexy. So maybe if we're lucky, we might see these two battling it out just one last time before the end of the race. But that's a big feat to ask of Vito to close up 9 seconds in about 5 laps.
Thus, of course, Galaxy's tires drop off dramatically here, closing laps.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. We're seeing a lot of these medium tires here on like lap 15, lap 16, lap 14. So they might be right around that point where they might start to hit a cliff sooner rather than later. The big question is, will that cliff hit before or after the last lap of the race? So if that cliff hits before, this could definitely shake things up now to the end of the race. As Feral Fury, he sets a 1:11.298, so that is the new fastest lap of the race. So opting for the soft tires seems to have worked out in his favor, at least in terms of potentially snagging those fastest lap points here in the dying laps of the race.
Nathan just can't seem to close ground on Potato or get away from Marshmallow.
No, so once again, it looks like all three of these drivers seem to have similar pace. So we're kind of stuck in a bit of an idling situation now where nobody can really, nobody can really build a gap, nobody can really close the gap either. But it still seems like as though Marshmallow, he's trying his hardest to really make that move on track. It seems now in the last 4 laps, as he's brought it down to now half a second, and he's getting pretty close now to Nathan. So I think Marshmallow may be trying to put those tires through with the last 4 laps, just push them as much as they can, really use up as much of the rubber as he possibly can, and maybe go for gold on this in these last 4 laps. Oh, it actually looks like he loses out in a little bit of time. Doesn't quite get the exit he was hoping for around that corner. And that won't help him going through the hairpin now, as it looks like he's much further behind than what he was beforehand. Gap now 8 tenths instead of the 4 or 5 tenths as it was beforehand. So once again for Marshmallow, that's another lap behind Nathan JB. And now with the laps ticking down, as they're going to start lap 32 out of 35, time is running out for any of these drivers who are really looking to make a move, as we have a yellow flag on track. As I'm not too sure that was for. Maybe I think a back marker. Just maybe that was Jordan letting Synchro through. So nothing too crazy there. Just in case there was an incident. Now I do have to say it's been a bit of a, I guess I could say, a quiet race. Not like no safety cars to speak about so far in this race, which is a little unusual given what we're used to seeing in the Tier 2 races.
Especially in the rain right off the start.
That's the thing. The drivers did a good job of keeping things clean, keeping things as safe as they can, tiptoeing around, just waiting for the heat to end up on those intermediate tires. But it's just a little bit surprising that we've seen these clean race. Well, not surprising. Oh no! Oh, turn 2 for, so that's, I mean, Synchro going to lose out on a little bit of time now as he was trying to close the gap on Feral Fury. But that turn 2, it's a very tricky turn to get right, especially with when you remove some of the traction control. Because when you're trying to when you're trying to put just enough traction to get the best possible exit, every once in a while you'll put a little bit too much and you'll lose the car. And that's it's not a great spot to lose the car and potentially even take some wing damage, because then you have to trek around the entirety of the lap with a reduced wing, and that can make you lose so much time. May or may not be speaking out of experience.
Understood. I agree 100% with everything you just said, because it is accurate.
Yeah, but now, so looking back on track, Irish Potato, he's actually grown the gap now up to nearly 6 seconds. Nathan JB still in second, and Marshmallow keeping him honest in third, but still hasn't been able to truly chip away at that gap like we were hoping. And now as we're going to come to the penultimate lap, it looked like he's thinking about making a move now finally, but thought a little bit better of it. Will we see it down this start-finish straight now as they're crossing the line to start lap 34? Trying down the outside, they get very close. Ooh, no contact as we have a nice little onboard here from Marksmello. And it looks like, at least for now, Nathan JB is still able to keep that second spot. But now he knows that that Marksmello, he's going to try to go for that second on track in these last 2 laps. We're going to get a little bit of excitement here, I think, now finally in these in the penultimate lap, in the last lap of the race for this last podium position. And
crucially got to pressure him into a mistake here. You got to force him maybe to just be thinking too much about what's happening behind to focus on what happened in front. Maybe just cutting the corner, getting the time penalty, just force him to just make a critical error.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. And now with well, about a lap and a quarter to go, anything can happen. But it looks like, at least for now, Marksmello was the one, I think, who might have had an error at some point in the lap, because now Nathan's gap now is now over a second. So crucially, it looks like he does still have the DRS, does Marksmello. So thankfully he can still keep up, but unfortunately it's not really where he wants to be, as we're now starting the last lap of the race. So that might have been his one chance, and unfortunately was not able to take it. But hang on, as I'm seeing this here, we've got Vito and Gexy right up behind one another. Who was that, Marksmello?
Nathan lost the rear.
Oh, Nathan lost the rear. Oh no, I've got too many battles now to watch here on the last lap of the race, because now Vito's right up behind Gexy as he was able to close up that gap. But it looks like Gexy is able to keep that spot. But now I want to quickly jump to this other battle now between Nathan and Marksmello. They're so close to one another too. Gap now back to under a second. Is Vito? He thought about making a move, actually going into the first little chicane there, where we saw Vettel have a bit of a journey a few years ago in the actual race, but wasn't able to make it stick. But now Vito's still right up behind on the fresher set of medium tires. He's going to have the DRS to help him out down this straight. He's going to try it down the outside. Will he make the move stick? They're going to go side by side. And there's contact! And that's Gexy! Oh no, and Gexy spins. He does reset on track. Thankfully, he does go, so Feral Fury doesn't run into him. But heartbreak for Gexy, as right when we saw the battle, that's the battle over just right as it was getting good and getting started. But here we go. Irish Potato, he is the race winner, crossing the line in first, and Nathan JB crossing the line in second. I think Marksmello did actually make the move potentially on track. Or maybe not. Wasn't able to. So yeah, Nathan in second, Marksmello in third, under less than a second behind. Cruz crossing the line in fourth. So still a solid finish for the Mercedes team, getting a 3-4. Feral Fury in fifth, Vito crossing the line, coming in sixth, and Gexy right behind him in seventh. So I think Feral Fury actually gained a spot on Vito just from the penalties with Vito. Now we're waiting for Synchro to cross the line. He's going to be finishing in eighth, with Chris in 9th, Bumblebee in 10th for that rental car, and Jordan in 11th, and Ilbiku, the last finisher here, finishing in 12th. So not the best race for him, but still some points for the team. Oh, but there we have it.
I believe Gexy might have just been able to finish absolutely ahead of Vito on track due to penalties. Vito left Gexy no room.
Oh, we'll have to see, but first we'll get a look at the podium. There we go. Irish Potato doing a little bit of a dance before accepting the trophy, celebrating with the champagne. Solid race from him. It was got a little bit sketchy for him, I guess I could say, in the pit stop window, but a solid drive, and he was able to to keep it for the win. Nathan in second there. We can see him celebrating as well. He had a very, very good race. Actually took the lead early on. Unfortunately, wasn't able to close it out, but still a solid second for him. And Marksmello, what a showing from him on his first ever Tier 2 race. Coming in third, definitely showing he has the pace to compete with the top dogs of Tier 2. So hopefully we can see him back here again and maybe shake up the championship a little bit. Cruz in fourth, so solid showing from him. We didn't really speak too much about Cruz during the race here today, but I felt he had a very strong race, and it was a pretty consistent drive from him. And he's got some nice points to show for him. And Feral Fury, he rounds out the top 5 after, I think, passing the likes of Vito and Gexy or passing Vito in with penalties there. But a great drive from him as well, as he's going to get some decent points too.
Just sending an invite, see if we can get anybody in here.
Alrighty, perfect. We'll see who we can get for those the post-race interviews here. But I guess it was a pretty exciting race, I have to say. Not as much action, I guess, as we're used to seeing in these 2-2 races, I do have to say. But it was still exciting nonetheless, especially at the end of the race, as we saw an incident happen. There was some nice battles for the podium.
Yeah, it's just unfortunately Arsenal not able to close the gap there at the end.
No, but it was still a good drive, though. He got very, very close. I thought he had it there with about 3 laps to go when he tried to make the move, but just unfortunately wasn't able to close it out. But either way, that was still a very strong showing, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the next coming weeks here in Tier 2 if he is going to be showing up. Oh, there we go. So we have the race winner. Hello, I'm not too bad. How are you? How are you feeling after that drive? Not too bad. You enjoyed it? That's good. That's good. I mean, congratulations on the win. I'm gonna say that right away. How are you? No problem. So how are you feeling? Were you confident that you're gonna be able to close it out after your qualifying, or were you a little bit worried early on when Nathan got a bit of the better start than, or I guess the better first lap?
Now, off the start, it appeared like Nathan came from far back, just dove down the inside. You were kind of forced to give him the position and then just sit behind him for probably the whole rainy stint there until you pitted. That's going to be huge for you in the championship as well. That's huge points gained on everybody else. You can see you jump up as close to, I want to say, 4 positions here. So, congrats on the win.
Yeah, congrats, and thank you for coming into the interview. Now, do we have anybody else you think is joining in, or?
I have sent the party chat invite to Nathan, and Marshmallow already got offline, so.
Alright, so I don't think we're getting any post-race comments from the 3rd place finisher. We'll give it a little bit longer for the 2nd place finisher to see if he's willing to hop in for a post-race interview. But sorry, what was that? Yeah. Thank you, everyone watching at home for joining. I guess in the meantime, I mean, I hope everybody enjoyed the race as much as we did here in the commentators booth. I'll be honest, I don't think that Nathan's going to be joining, so I think this is probably the best spot to wrap things up. So I will say thank you once again, everyone, for tuning in. As I just said, make sure to not go anywhere, because in about 35 minutes from now, we're going to be seeing the main event, the Tier 1 Championship racing around the Canadian Grand Prix once again. So please make sure to tune in for that if you have the time in about 35 minutes time, 3 p.m. Eastern. But that's going to do it for us here in the commentators booth for Tier 2. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, and until next week, goodbye.